rePORTAL is a web application that runs on Microsoft's web server stack, IIS, and typically you install it on a Windows Server platform. Server 2012, 2016, 2019 are all supported. And essentially, it's going to allow you to manage, distribute, and schedule your reports. We currently support 4 report writing platforms in rePORTAL. The first is Microsoft Power BI. The second is SQL Server Reporting Services, or SSRS. The third is Crystal Reports. And the fourth is our own built-in tool, which is based on standard SQL syntax, so you can use SQL scripting to generate either on-demand or scheduled reports. rePORTAL provides 2 broad methods of distribution. The first is the portal, which users can access. They get authenticated, and then they can run reports in real time by entering parameter values. So that those are run in an ad hoc fashion in real, and the results are displayed in the browser, where the user can then print, export, and drill down. No special software needs to be installed on the local user machine. So that's the on-demand or pull sort of distribution model. The other is our scheduling engine, which allows for automated delivery based on date, time, and event. Now you can combine both those distribution options in one product or separate them depending on your specific requirements. As you can see here, I've already logged in and I see a list of folders. There's complete security built into our product, so you can control folder and report access by user, by group, and all that's managed through our administration module, which I'll go through in a moment. Crystal Reports, so this is an example of Crystal Reports. I'm going to run a particular report, enter some parameter values, and submit the report. Again, because this is an on-demand report, the results are generated in real time, ad hoc, and displayed to the user in their browser. SSRS reports, very similar. This is one without parameters. It's just going to display some graphics with drill-through capabilities. So you have the ability to essentially manage all types of reports, whether they be Power BI, SSRS, or Crystal, through a single platform. Here's an example of Power BI reports. So all the visuals, the interactive capabilities that you normally find with Power BI would be fully supported, including filters and slicers, which allow users to slice and dice the data when it gets returned. In addition to reports, you can also manage and distribute files, documents, web apps. All those can be managed and distributed through rePORTAL. The user also has the ability to create what's called a custom view, so they can create all kinds of dashboards and widgets to provide the look and feel that they want when they log in. So that's also available to the end user as well, customizable by user. The menu bar at the top allows the administrator to manage the various modules of rePORTAL. A user maintenance module is where the user manages the users that have access to the application. We support both Windows authentication, so you can tie the user accounts to your Active Directory for single sign-on, or the user can, or you can, use anonymous authentication, which allows rePORTAL to control the username and password. I'm going to drill into one of the existing users so you can see how that's set up. When you set up a user, you can assign a role. There are 3 roles available in rePORTAL. The user role has access only to the report listing page, which is what we saw initially. There are 2 administrator type roles. Difference between them is that the MIS is sort of like the super user. There's a variety of different options for the user, so you can add the email, phone number, addresses. This is used primarily for multi-factor authentication, where we send out another message in order to authenticate further, add another layer of security to the application. Group membership, so you can assign to the user to be part of one or more groups in rePORTAL. You can control permissions at the user level. And then we have the concept of aliases, which are like tags or identifiers that you assign to a user login. that describes some attributes, an employee ID, a customer code. You can then link these aliases to the parameters inside your report. That then allows the report to filter data dynamically based on user login. So you can have a single report that delivers different information depending on who's logged in and running it. I'll show you how that linkage occurs in a moment. Groups allow you to manage multiple users in rePORTAL, of course. So again, you can specify members in a group. You can control permissions at the group level. You also have the ability to assign group aliases, which are similar to user aliases, except that with a group alias, all the members of the group share the value of the alias. The import domain user module is used to import Active Directory users and or groups into the rePORTAL data repository. So if you want to use AD authentication single sign-on, this would be useful for bringing in users and or groups instead of having to individually generate them. Report maintenance is where you manage the product from the report and document side. So let's just take a look at an on-demand ad hoc report first, and then we'll look at the scheduling example. In this case, this is Crystal, but all the other reports behave in very much the same way, so we'll use this as a template. You provide a name, point in this case to an RPT file because it's Crystal Reports. If it's SSRS, it would be an RDL file. If it's a Power BI report, it would be a PBIX file that you can point to either locally or up on the cloud as well. You assign a display text. This is what the user sees as a link to click on the main report listing page. Again, this is not scheduled. You can pick an export format if you don't want to use the viewer. You'd assign a folder location. These are the virtual folders that you'd set up to categorize your reports on the main report listing page. If your report contains parameters, you can manage them here. Very powerful tool, excuse me, that allows you to set different options for your parameters. The input allows for, user entry, static values. You could create a dynamic list of values off a SQL report or a database field from inside your own report. You can even write your own query, for example, that would retrieve data based on certain criteria, for example, the login name. So this can be customized to any form that you like, including calling stored procedures. The data sources, whatever your report's connecting to, for SSRS and the Crystal Reports, we support a variety of different data providers. Power BI has its own set. And then the viewer options if you're using the viewer to display the reports. All right, let's take a quick look at an SSRS report and use that as a model for the scheduler so you can see how the scheduling works. And in this case, you'll notice that it's being scheduled. To create a schedule, I simply click on the link, changes the window to a scheduling window. I can set my options. Very powerful scheduler. You can archive outputs, keep any number of prior instances for historical or auditing purposes. You can burst the schedule. Bursting is a very powerful tool that allows you to break the schedule apart by user, such that each user receives their own segmented data within the report. There's retry options. So if the schedule fails for whatever reason, you can indicate that the scheduler would retry any number of times based on an interval in minutes. So that's an option as well. Encryption, compression, available as well. You have dynamic file naming options here, so you can embed any kind of dynamic data, such as names, dates, parameter values can be embedded in the file name. Scheduling options, daily, every X days, weekly, every X weeks, days of the weeks. You can specify, of course, monthly, every X days of every X months, or specific days, weekdays of every X months, of course. You can even create your own custom schedule. So if you had, a fiscal calendar, for example, you can use that as well to set up the scheduling options. Holiday support, skip, prior business day, next business day, daily frequency and duration options are all available to you. The Destinations tab allows you to specify where the output from the scheduler is going to go to. So email, printer, FTP, file share, you know, a variety of different web platforms, Google Drive, Slack, you know, are all available to you as well. Triggers essentially allow you to kick off a schedule based on a certain event. So unlike date and time-based scheduling, you can also have event-based scheduling. So in this case, the rePORTAL will be monitoring your network for the creation or the modification of a specific file, and then you know, you can decide what to do with that file after the schedule kicks off. You can also execute batch and command files before and after a schedule. This is useful if you want to do any kind of pre or post processing on the schedule once it's complete. The addressing tab allows you to specify email or SMS recipients. 2CC, BCC are all supported. Admins would receive any exception messages, so they'd be notified if anything went wrong. So all that's available to you in terms of recipient addressing. Right, folder maintenance is where you can manage the product in terms of creating virtual folders. You can nest folders to any depth that you like. You're able as well to nest folders essentially and basically control permissions also at the folder level. Any objects you place in that folder would automatically inherit those permissions by default. Scheduling maintenance module is where you get a dashboard view from all your schedules, what happened, when they ran, when they're next going to run. You can also add and modify schedules from here as well. Packages allow you to create containers into which you can place one or more schedules. This is useful if you want to do things like consolidation, or simply just managing multiple schedules at once. You're even able to control the order in which schedules run within a package here. The destination module allows you to manage the destinations used by the scheduler, so email, printer, FTP. This is an example of an email destination. You point to your mail server. You can customize both the body and the subject of the email message. You can also embed, of course, exception messages that would be delivered to the administrator in the case of errors. File type, file share type destinations. We support a variety of options: SharePoint, Dropbox, a regular file share, of course, Slack and Google Drive. Business calendars and holidays, pretty straightforward. Email SMS groups are basically distribution lists. They contain either a static list of values or a dynamic list based on a SQL report. So you can have a list of email or SMS addresses. Auditing, there's complete auditing built into our product, so you can control or access and view data on logins, logouts, who ran reports, when they ran, what parameters were used in running the report. All that can be controlled and managed through the audit module. And of course, there's a whole set of modules on Power BI maintenance. Of course, this allows you to manage all your Power BI components and resources on the cloud, such as tenants, principals, resource groups, on-premise data sources, workspaces, all can be managed through rePORTAL as well. So this hopefully provides you with some additional information on rePORTAL. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. Our number is 925-377-6107, or you can visit us online at reportalsoftware.com. Thank you very much.